What's up, you guys? It's me, therealjrhobbs, and today I will be teaching you how to flare. I did a how to flare video probably 2 years ago, and I rewatched it and I was like, I kind of left it too vague. In this video I'm going to go really in depth on how to flare and how to like properly learn it and what type of quarter pipe to learn it on, so you'll definitely be able to nail one. So here we go. Okay, so first thing you want to do is find a quarter pipe that you're really comfortable with. So right now we're in my backyard. This is my backyard mini, and this is the 6-foot quarter pipe. This is the perfect ramp for me to flare on. I learned how to do a flare on a 6-foot quarter pipe and then took it to different quarter pipes like 5 foots, 8 foots and such. But I definitely feel finding like a good steep 6-foot is the best place to start. First thing you want to do is just air it and pop out and kind of land maybe like 3/4 of the way down in the ramp. That'll kind of help you get comfortable with pulling out of the ramp and getting your legs and arms working in the motion of a flare. And you want to be airing between 2 and 3 feet high. That just gives you enough time to bring it around, pull it around and everything, and land nice and smooth in transition without having to worry about slamming into the side of the ramp. The other thing is, you want to know how to flip first. I learned how to flip first, and it definitely helped out with like the whole going backwards and being upside down, because that can be like a really weird feeling. So definitely know how to flip, know how to pump and pull out of a ramp, and yeah, be able to air 2 or 3 feet high, and you'll be good. So first I'm going to demonstrate what I mean, kind of just like pumping and popping out of the ramp. That'll be right here. So let's break down kind of like the motion of the flare when you get comfortable pulling out on a quarter that you love, that you admire, that you want to marry, that you just want to be with for the rest of your life. What I tend to do is I go straight up the ramp. Be quiet, elites, come on. Film it. I go straight up the ramp and I'm like crouched down, laying out like how you're pumping and pulling out. And as soon as I hit the coping with my front wheel, I start to pull back and kind of push through with my legs to get that pump. And then what that does is it kind of like pushes your back wheel like you're flipping, but keeps you within the transition. And then you want to pull straight back. And then what I do, a lot of people say there's not really like a drop your shoulder technique, but if you look at any of the flares I do, you can definitely see I kind of drop my shoulder like this, so it pulls me around and kind of does more of a barrel roll instead of like a flip 180, which I think is cooler and is more helpful, because then you're able to pull like a faster flare when you want to do like smaller flares when you have them mastered. But you want to pump, flip back, you want to pull like a flip, but kind of lean this way so it starts your spin. You don't want to get into the habit of like spinning like this and to get your like rotation around, because what that'll end up doing is turning it into more of like a dip 540, and everyone will make fun of you, like Freddie Smith, because he does dip 540s. I don't know if I should put that in or not. But anyways, just kidding, Freddie. You do beautiful flares. I love you. And so what you want to do, pull straight back, kind of lean to the way you spin, and that'll get your flip momentum and your spin momentum at the same time, instead of like doing the flip, get your flip around, turn 180, and then kind of karate chopping in. I find that like super sketchy, and you need to do those on like bigger quarters, so I'm not a fan of that, but personal preference, so whatever you want to do and whatever you find most comfortable. But the main thing is just wait until you hit the coping, pull back with your arms, like straight back, and then kind of pull back with your head and kind of lean it to the way you want to spin, and then push through the ramp, and you'll come down magically right away, and it'll be a celebration. So now enough talking, I'm going to actually do a flare on this quarter and then kind of slow it down and break down the motions for you. It's tough doing these how-tos because like you'll be in the middle of talking and then there'll be a dog fight. Alright, so as you saw, I pumped up the ramp nice and compressed. As I hit the lip, I pulled with my arms and started to lean back and dip my head to kind of get that flip momentum and that spin momentum all together to create that barrel roll, and then pushed out with my legs like that to get my pop and get the pop away from the ramp so you don't land on the deck and you kind of stay with inside the ramp. And then as you come around, if you feel like you're going too fast, you want to open up the flare, but if you feel like you're kind of like going too slow, you can pull in, because like the more balled up you are and more compressed you are, the faster it'll be, and the more open you'll be, the slower it'll come around. And then as you flip, if you flare my way, kind of like this pull back, kind of lean over barrel roll time, you'll be able to see the ramp and the transition the whole entire time, which is great, because then you can spot your landing and decide whether you need to speed up, slow down, or whatever, and then spot your landing and just glide right in. It's very nice. Another thing is the crashes on these, as long as you stay committed, they're not bad at all. You can, I mean, it's been countless times where I've kind of like gotten the wrong pop off of it, and I can just kind of like hold onto the bike with one hand, keep the spin around, and I'll literally just like land on my feet or just kind of like land on my slide and slide out. It's only when you really don't know that like flip, the kind of like the feeling of the flip, that's where it can get a little hairy, and when you haven't gotten the proper pop out of the ramp, because you can case and hang up, which is really bad. But if you get a good pop off of something and you're learning it on something relatively steep, you really don't have to worry about casing at all. And yeah, it's a very fun trick. I highly recommend it. If you're not flaring in 2019, what are you doing? Because everyone's doing it everywhere. But yeah, they're super fun. I'm going to do a couple more angles of a flare just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it does, and then we'll move on to the 5-foot ramp, and I'll kind of break down how to do a smaller flare and kind of tips on that. Alright, so one thing you may have noticed when watching me do those flares is as soon as I get upside down, I lock my brakes. For me, I love using my brakes in a flare because I feel like it's kind of like a timing thing. It's like, alright, I'm upside down, click, and then it kind of brings me around. And the second thing that I like about it is if I'm about to land like really back heavy, it'll just lock that back wheel and drop me down so I won't have less of a chance of looping out. I learned them doing them brakeless, but then as soon as I started doing them with my brakes, I just kind of got stuck with it. And so don't let that discourage you. But if you have brakes, I definitely suggest using them because, I don't know, it just feels cleaner. It feels like your bike's not going anywhere from you. It doesn't float away or anything. It's all just kind of like tied up with you. So, yeah. Alright, so now you have mastered flaring a 6-foot quarter or bigger or whatever, and you want to take it to something smaller. So in this video we're going to just go to this like super steep 5-foot. It's not like a traditional 5-foot, that's a little bit more mellow. It has the height, I mean obviously it has the height of a 5-foot, but definitely the feeling of a smaller quarter. So this will kind of really help demonstrate it, and I'm going to kind of treat it more like a smaller flare, like on a 3 or 4-foot quarter. But yeah, there's definitely a bit of difference. The mechanics is the same pull and everything, but it's kind of more the approach changes. So for me, when I do a flare on a 6-foot quarter, I kind of either like to go like straight up or kind of carve at it like that, so then I can chill it a bit more and get like a slower flare, more controlled flare, and then just come down nice and smooth. But for a smaller quarter, I like to go like really straight up, just like straight line, straightest line ever up the ramp, or I kind of carve opposite air, so kind of alley-oop. And what that does, it really helps you get your pop in your initial pull and really brings that flare around faster. One thing I'll say about these, they're super fun. They can be very frustrating because like you know how to flare, but it just sometimes it's getting away from you. But they come around really fast. And man, I just keep spacing out in this video. What the fuck was I gonna say? these flares come around faster, you land harder, they're not as enjoyable as a bigger flare in my personal opinion. They look cool in photos when you have like a really small flare and stuff, but yeah, so we're going to demonstrate on the 5-foot quarter. Another note, on a smaller quarter flare, I typically like to go a little bit slower than I would for a big quarter. Big one, I just kind of like go fast, boost it, get it nice and slow, get that good pop and stuff. But on a smaller one, I typically like to go a little, like a butthole hair slower. That way I can really get my pop and get that nice pull out away from the ramp, because again, it's a smaller quarter, so you're gonna have to do more work in order to get away from the ramp. So just keep that in mind. So like I said before, when you're doing it on like a smaller quarter, to me, a smaller quarter is like 5 feet and below. That one, that's where I feel like I really can't boost a flare very high, and it takes a little bit more work. But when you're doing it on like a 5 and below, go a little bit slower at the ramp, and you're just gonna want to pull harder. But it's the same exact kind of like drop your shoulder, pull straight back, and get your pump. But just on a smaller quarter, you know what I mean? But on smaller ones, you can't spot the landing as well. You're a little bit more blind because you're just spinning so fast compared to one on a 6-foot quarter. Those I love because you can just pull, chill it, look it, and spot your landing and come right in, and it feels a lot cleaner to me. But again, small quarters are cool, and you want to absolutely learn how to flare everything, because that's badass. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this video. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification bell. Check out my other videos, and don't forget, go to lynbmx.com. Cop yourself some of the best tall tees in the games, because they will help you learn how to flare, because I can't flare without one of these shirts. But until next time, peace. Video's not over, forgot to plug. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at therealjrhobbs, and follow my clothing company at lynbmx. And that's the end of the video. Bye.